Okay. Welcome everyone to today's demo on the changes and new features in Beest 11.07, which we released last week. What we're going to talk about today is just a couple of topics because there weren't that many changes in this version. We're going to talk about the changes made to support the latest version of AirMod 16216R, and then how to export Windows from our new Windows program into the Google Earth application. All right, but first, before we talk about the AirMod version 16216R, there's one other topic, and that is the status of the Appendix W update which the EPA published. And again, the Appendix W is the revision to the air quality modeling guidelines that the EPA has been working on throughout 2016, and it's published initially in December 2016. Now this appendix was published to the Federal Register on January 17th, and was supposed to have an effective date of February 16th, which is 30 days later. But then on January 20th, there was an executive memo published by the new president that said that guidelines that have been published to the Federal Register, the effective date is now delayed until March 21st for review, so the guidelines could be reviewed, and that affects the Appendix W. So now its effective date is March 21st, 2017. So again, now the effective date for Appendix W is now March 21, 2017. All right, now here's what changed in the AirMod version 16216R. This is the updated version of the AirMod model that was released by the US EPA on January 17th. Even though it was released in early 2017, they chose not to update the version number, just add the letter R to the end of it. So that's now the latest version is 16216R. And one thing that they've changed is that in the version 16216, there was a bug in calculating emissions for circular area sources that could lead to very high concentrations. That bug has now been fixed, and the circular area source emissions are now calculated correctly. There was also a problem where the LLM option for NO2 modeling couldn't be used if you just set the default option. With the default option, you had to set non-default or beta. That has been fixed now as well. So then the other thing that they fixed in this version is that sometimes when you use the when you create max TCO into output files, and your model also had blind line sources, a few people saw runtime errors in the model with that combination of options. That has now been fixed as well. And now you can create those output files in the new version, and there won't be any errors. And finally, the EPA actually updated the user's guides, made a few corrections to the user's guides for both AirMod and AirMet, but they did not update the AirMet model. And in Beest, you can see those guides. I'm going to go ahead and switch to the application now. In Beest, you can see those guides by clicking on Help and Guidance Documents. And for example, for AirMod, you can now see both the user's guide and what's called a user's guide errata memo for this new version. And then just And that's just a memo from the EPA telling you exactly what they fixed in the user's guide. And one of the things, for example, is that they've removed references to the PVM RM2 modeling option, which no longer exists in the latest version of the model. So again, the user's guide's been corrected. And then also what we changed in Beest is we have changed our NO2 modeling option screen as shown in the screenshot here. There are two things to note here. One is that now the OLM option is a default option. And the other is that we have now added an option called None. And what that allows you to do is model for NO2, but without invoking any of the options below. That's the same. That's just NO2 modeling, but it doesn't invoke any of these options below, such as OLM or ARM. So those are the changes in our Beest software. Now we'll go ahead and go over to now we'll go ahead and review the changes in our Windows software. And what we've added in the latest version is the ability to export your Windows to Google Earth. The procedure for doing that is fairly straightforward and just has 3 steps. First, you would open a metadata file. Then you click Options and select the location where the Windows will be exported. And it'll do that by setting the coordinate for the center of the Windows once it's exported. And then once you close the Options screen, you just click the Options and Send to Google Earth on the menu bar. And I will now go ahead and demonstrate that for you. All right, so in this, starting from the application, I would select the metadata file to open. I'm going to go ahead and select a file for the Anchorage, Alaska airport. All right, so now that my metadata is displayed on the screen, I would go to Options and Options again. And at the bottom here, you'll see that actually the program has read the location of the station from our surface file already. So I don't need to change it, but I could change it if I wanted to a different location. And this will be the center point of the Windows once it's exported. And also there's a radius here which determines how large the Windows is. I'll go ahead and leave that. I'll go ahead and leave that as the default. And the other thing here is I can select either 36 or 16 win sectors. I'll choose the default value for now as well. So I'll click OK. And then say Send to Google Earth. And then you'll see the Windows show up in the Google Earth application. And as you see, it has the same wind pedals as you see in our Windows over here. The same as are exported to Google Earth, and then also the rings are exported as well. As you can see here, we have a 2 through 8% display here as well. But actually, once you are in Google Earth, you can expand this Windows, and you can turn off the labels if you want to, so that those don't show up. And then as you can see, our center is right here in the center of the airport. And now if I go back and select 16 wind sectors, the display will be updated accordingly here to display the 16 wind sectors. Then if I say Send to Google Earth, then the 16 wind sectors will be exported to Google Earth. All right, and there's one more thing that I'd like to show to you, and that is that you can turn off not only the labels but also the circles that are displayed. You can also turn off the circles that are exported from the application you go with. So you can turn that off, and then once that's done, you will just have the petals displayed. One more thing that may be helpful is that sometimes if you have this terrain layer turned on in your work at the bottom, then sometimes the display of the petals will be broken by the terrain, as you can see here. So it looks like there's a sort of a hole in the petal, and that's because of the terrain display. So to display the petals the best way, it's recommended that you turn off this terrain layer. And if you once I do that, the petals are unbroken. So again, once this is exported, you can expand the windows details, and you can turn off the rings and the labels, and then you'll have just the petals displayed in the application when that's done. On this screenshot shows the options screen that I've also shown you in the application. In this case, the default 36 sectors are displayed on the screen in the screenshot. All right, that concludes our presentation. I'll now go ahead and unmute everybody and take questions. Thank you for listening.